Dear Joe, your radio show Lovenotes has been part of my life for the past 16 years. Just call me Jaime. I'm in my mid-30s and working at a bank. Married with 2 kids. You know, just your ordinary dude. 13 years back, I was your certified bum. I did nothing but go out, spend my parents' money on wine and women. Then I met someone who is now my wife. We got married 12 years ago just because she was pregnant. I strongly felt that it was time to stop running away from my responsibilities and face my problems squarely. A few months after we got married and a few days after she gave birth to our first child, I was able to land a job at a bank. Joe, everything was domestically okay for me until 2 years after my marriage. I met Dabs. I've been seeing her within the vicinity of the bank I work for, as she was a manager of an appliance store. She was pretty, with beautiful long legs, and a mysterious aura that surrounds her. Joe, my curiosity overcame my better senses, and I started a conversation with her one time. It turned out that she was separated from her husband and taking care of 1 kid. We became very good friends. Word got around and reached my wife, who suspected that I was having an affair. Back then, I wasn't. Dabs was simply a friend that I considered to be very close to me. Still, my wife went to the workplace of Dabs, confronted her, and demanded that she stop seeing me. But their consciences back then were clean. We were not doing anything wrong. Despite the insistence of my wife, Joe, I continued to see her until such time that I couldn't stop seeing her anymore. I realized then that I was falling in love with Dabs. Suffice to say, we had an affair, and I reached a decision back then to leave my family, despite my wife giving birth to our second child. All I wanted was to be with Dabs. She became my world, my life. I loved her, and she loved me back. I found complete acceptance from someone who I truly loved. Everything was set. We were to move to Manila and start our lives over. Until my father meddled, him being a very influential person at our place. Dabs was terminated from work, and I was put in the care of a priest until he could knock some sense into my head. We were forcibly separated from each other. But secretly, we kept in touch with each other. I would go on secret trips to Manila just to spend time with her and be alone with her. Whenever she would come home to our town to see her kid, I would find ways to see her secretly. It was the ultimate thrill of my life back then. Joe, our hide-and-seek relationship went on for 7 years. I was hesitant to leave my family for fear that I wouldn't see my kids anymore. I kept telling everyone that I was going on the straight and narrow path to faithfulness and monogamy. I wanted Dabs and my kids. By continuing on with this setup, I was having the best of both worlds. I still loved her, truly loved her, until last year. Joe, Dabs became insistent that we continue our plan to move in together. By now, I was already having second thoughts about our plans. I started to learn to love my wife. I started to enjoy family life. You know, a quiet family life. But then, in October of last year, Dabs confronted me with something that felt like the whole world collapsed on me. She was pregnant. She asked about my reaction and my plans, and I told her I had none. During that time, I was having problems of my own at work. The situation of Dabs getting pregnant was farthest from my priorities. I asked her what she felt about the situation, and she answered that she has a career to take care of. Simply put, she didn't want the kid. I told her to do what she wants to do, and she said she wanted to get an abortion. In another classic case of me running away from my responsibility, Joe, I agreed. She asked that I accompany her, and I told her that I was too busy with work. She completely went ballistic and was crying and angry at the same time. Just to stop her from making a scene, I told her that I'll take full responsibility for her actions. After her abortion, she called me several times, but I was completely cold to her. I simply wanted out of this relationship. Joe, it has been 9 years of lies, of adultery, of sin. I have had enough. It's been more than 5 months since I last saw or heard anything about Dabs. Joe, I feel guilty for what I have done to her, for not ending the relationship before she got pregnant, for not telling her that the reason I kept on seeing her and being with her was just to satisfy her, and not because I still love her. I wanted to apologize to her, to say I was a complete jerk, but I do not know where she is. She resigned from her work, and they could not say where she went. Joe, I want to hug her and sincerely apologize for what I've done, for forcing her to do the sin of killing an innocent child growing in her. It came to the point where the pressure of guilt bothered me so much that I got a gun and pointed it to my head. But when I pulled the trigger, the gun didn't go off. Joe, could you please let Dabs know that I'm truly sorry for what I have done to her? Could you please ask her to get in touch with me so I could apologize to her? We both listen to your program often, and she would always turn silent whenever the letter sender's topic would include the love triangle. What do I have to do? Joe, I want this guilt out of my system. My work is suffering. My family has suffered enough from my indiscretions. I am suffering from my stupidity and callousness. Please help me out, Joe. I am seeking closure on this issue. Redemption maybe, but forgiveness from Dabs, definitely. Thank you for your time, and God bless you always. Sincerely yours, Jaime. Jaime, I know for a fact that one of man's greatest weakness is his incessant craving to satisfy his selfish desires. You married your wife because she was pregnant, and not because you really loved her then. You have vowed in the permanence of marriage for the wrong reason. Then the biggest test came. Someone you thought you loved more than your family came and turned your world around. You became obsessed with the thought of moving in with Dabs and the hope of starting a new life with her. God wanted you to keep your family, so He made a way for you to stay. But your will to do what you wanted prevailed. You got Dabs pregnant only to find out that the life with her is not what you wanted after all. But the damage has been done, and it was aggravated by the fact that you even consented to having your baby aborted. You ran away, and now you are haunted by the guilt of your own dark past. Jaime, no matter how difficult life may seem to be, it is still what we make it. All of these happened because you wanted and allowed them to happen. But I know that your feeling of guilt is a sign that you are a moral and responsible person. Many of us continue to struggle with guilt and the inability to forgive ourselves. But if we cannot forgive ourselves, we simply cannot go on. I hope Dabs is listening right now. She probably has left everything behind. But if she is still carrying the burden of hatred for you, then I hope that this letter would make her realize how sorry you are for truly hurting her and making her life miserable. Let us always remember that hatred will just consume us until there is no more space for mercy. What is done, but the power of forgiveness can change our lives forever. Jaime, you cannot control the past, nor can you really control the future. What you can control 100% is this moment. Learn to forgive yourself. Redemption will come when God sees the pureness of your heart and the sincerity of your intentions. Continue to love your family and be faithful to your wife. Live your life as a sacrifice to prove to everyone that you really want to change and to become a better son to your parents, a better father to your children, and a better husband to your wife.